Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to our science class. But before we proceed to our new lesson, let's do the pre-assessment. For your pre-assessment activity, you're going to write your answers in the whiteboard fee, and the link for this whiteboard fee will be sent in the chat box. What you're going to do with this activity? Complete each statement by writing the appropriate word. Number 1, after pollination, blank process will take place. Number 2, seeds will be found inside blank. Number 3, all flowering plants have blank. So you need to complete each statement and write the answer in the whiteboard fee. Our lesson for today is lesson 1.13, Stages in the Life Cycle. The learning objective of this lesson to explain various stages in flowering plants have a life cycle including pollination, fertilization, seeds production, and seeds dispersal and germination. So at the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain the various stages in flowering plants during life cycle. Life cycle of flowering plant. For life cycle, pollination is important. If flowers is not pollinated, ova will not be fertilized and plant will not produce new seeds. If seeds do not get any water, they will not germinate and grow into new plants. So remember these points. What are the following keywords to this lesson? Life cycle, pollinated, ovum, fertilize, seeds, and germinate. You need to read and practice the following keywords in order to understand the concept of this lesson. Find the meaning of the following keywords using the glossary of your student book. Read and practice these keywords. Let's begin. Each stage in the life cycle of plant is important. If the life cycle is broken, the plant will not reproduce and that type of plant might die out. Let us discuss the different stages in the life cycle of a flowering plant. First, the process of seeds germination. What happened during this process? Seed starts to grow under the ground. And what are the basic needs of seed in order to germinate? Soil, water, and warmth. Second stage will be the growth. So after seeds germination, the seed starts to grow and turns into plant. What happens during this process? Seeds send up small shoots out of the ground and grow into plant. What is needed? Soil, water, warmth, and light. So remember the different needs of plants in order to grow: soil, water, warmth, and light. They need light because they need to reproduce or they need to produce their own food during the process of what we call photosynthesis. So these are the first two stages in the life cycle of a flowering plant. Another stages in the life cycle, reproduction and pollination. Reproduction, what happens during this process? Plants produce flowers with male and female parts. What is needed during this process? Flower. Another, pollination. What happens during this cycle or this process? Pollen from male anther comes into contact with the female stigma. What is needed during the pollination? Pollen from anther, stigma, pollinators like insects, birds, water, or wind. So remember these two stages in the life cycle, reproduction and the pollination. Another stages in the life cycle of a flowering plant Fertilization. What happens during fertilization? A pollen grain joins up with the ovum and a fruit grows inside the ovary. What is needed during this process? Ovum in the ovary. Another, seeds formation. What happens during this process? Seeds grow inside the fruit, and what is needed during this process? Ovary and worm. So remember, fertilization, it's a process wherein the pollen grains joins up with the ovum and fruits grows inside the ovary. And during the seeds formation, seeds grow inside the fruit, and the basic need for this is the ovary and the worm. Another stage in the stage of the life cycle of a plant is seeds dispersal. What happens during this process? Seeds drop from the dying flower and fall onto the ground in other places. What is needed? Seeds need to be spread around as much as possible. As you remember our discussion about seeds dispersal, seeds can be dispersed in different ways. It can be by wind, animals, or even explosion. So these are the different stages of the life cycle of a flowering plant. Remember, each stages in the life cycle of a plant is important. If the life cycle is broken, the plant will not reproduce and that type of plant may not die out. So remember the different stages of the life cycle of a flowering plant. Now you have an idea already what are the different stages in the life cycle of a flowering plant. Remember, each stage in the life cycle of plant is important. Now, let's do the assessment. You're going to do your first assessment for this lesson in quizzes. The link will be provided in the chat box and you need to read well the question before submitting the answer. And for your notebook activity, you're going to write the answer for your student book questions, page number 26. The questions are, explain in a very simple way the life cycle of a plant. And second, look at this table about the life cycle of a plant and can you add anything more to the table. So you're going to base your answer from the table that you can see on page 26 and 27 of your student book. For the plenary, you're going to write one thing that you have learned in this lesson. Write in the chat box. That's all for today. Thank you for listening and have a good day.